Alright guys, let's jump right back into it, shall we? So, got the camshaft in the mail. There it is. And it is pre-owned, used. The lobes look really good. Really good, actually. And the journals look fantastic as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Here's the broken one. And it looks like the same number. So we have 5, 6, 3, 2, 2, 6, 3. It's a little bit hard to make out on that one, but you can see it on there. So it's the same cam. And I guess we're ready to start throwing this thing back together. Oh, and the other thing is, I got the 2 new plugs in. And the plug is MR7F. You guys can see that. Alright, let's get to it. Also, I wanted to show this before we move on, that I cleaned this all up with Simple Green and a toothbrush. And then once I got done cleaning with the Simple Green, I sprayed it down with WD-40, scrubbed it up some more, and then wiped it down so it wouldn't get any corrosion. You can see it's really clean, and that's ready to go back on as well. All right, first thing we got to do is we got to take the bolts out of the sprockets. See if I can crack these without too much fanfare. One, and let's try rotating it. Get to the others. And I took the spark plugs out in order to make the engine easier to rotate. So I'm going to take the top ones out, rotate it around, loosen the bottom ones, and then we'll take the cover off the top, remove the sprockets. Actually, you know what I got to do? I got to take the chain tensioner off, which is right here. That's a 22 millimeter. Let's get the cap off. Alright, there we go. Take that gear out. Let the chain fall. I'm gonna put a wire around this so we don't lose the chain. And as far as this one here goes, I'm not even gonna, I don't even think I need to take it off of that, because this cam, the new cam came with a gear, so I'm just gonna leave it on there. Alright, let's pop this front cap off. Looks like there's some wear in that. Not bad though. Alright, let's pull this cam out. Now, just want to make sure that I don't lose my chain. So, just want to make sure that right, good. Alright, so these 21 fit right on the crank, right on the camshaft, so you can rotate them. This feels awful tight, like really tight. Let's take it off. I don't know what's holding them in there, but no one's had these apart before. And there is some serious Loctite in there, which we'll have to clean out. Alright guys, this is on there now. It just snugged, and apparently you got to put everything on here in order to keep the cam where it needs to be. And the cam's moving pretty freely now after I cleaned everything up. There might have been some debris in there, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems to be moving pretty free now, and I'm happy about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my shims and I'm going to measure the gap on each one of these intake valves, and then if we need to do an adjustment, I will get my shim kit out and we will adjust the shims. Now fortunately, this Polaris 900 engine takes the same exact size shims as a Yamaha 450, Kawasaki 450, and a Honda 450R. So I guess the 450 engines and this 900 use the same style shim and cap, which is fantastic. All right, I got the measurements for each one. Let's pull the buckets now, just using a magnet, and it should take the shim with it, hopefully, and it did. Alright, I am going to pull all these caps and then go over to the bench, do the math on what I need to replace these with, come back, install them, and then recheck. I don't know if you guys can see all this, but I just want to go over real quick what I did. So it took me probably 45 minutes to get these all shimmed, because there is 8 of them, and these are my shims here, and I'm missing some because it seems like these are the most popular sizes, and I'm all out of them. So unfortunately the shim kits don't come. I suppose they could if you bought a really high-end shim kit, but I didn't buy a high-end one, so I don't have every single incremental size, basically is what I'm trying to say. So I just try to get it close. Alright, so like I said, I don't have every single incremental adjustment up and down, so I have to get as close as I can. So on this one here, it measured 91, so I moved it 8 thou, basically. No, it measured 8 thousandths on the feeler, measured 91, so I changed it to 85.5 thousandths, which brought me down in the range of the 11 to 13 thousandths for the exhaust. This one here, it measured 11, which was on the min, and I went from a 91 down to an 89, which opened it up to about 12 thou, 12.5 thou. Okay, so these here, these both measured 14, which is a little bit on the high end of this. I didn't have anything that would bring it down a thou or two. I didn't have anything in this range of 87 to 89 thousandths. So I just left them alone. I didn't change them, and that's fine. I'd rather have them a little bit on the big side because it's on the exhaust, and these are going to heat up and expand anyways, so which will tighten up the gap as while it's running. So I'm fine with that. I'll leave them, and the valves are going to wear a little bit. Anyways, it's fine. So these here I got in spec, did the same thing, did the math. Basically all the valves had to come down. These two would have had to go up, but I didn't have the shims that coincided with what I needed to do. But basically every single one of these valves was tight. I had to loosen them up. So that's basically what I did. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to the machine. We're going to install the camshafts, timing chain, put the cover back on. We're going to try to start it. If it runs, we're going to let it warm up, and then I'm going to do another compression test on it, and I'm going to see what the compression is, because I want to make sure that I don't have any bent valves. Alright guys, one thing you're going to need to time this engine. Now Polaris sells a tool that goes inside these slots here, and you can see the slot is not centered because it has to be on top, it has to sit on top of the head, and it goes across this area here. So I'm not going to buy the tool, and the tool only works if the motor's out of the frame, because the plate they sell you is just too big. So what I did was I measured this with my vernier, and I figured out what I needed for thickness, and I cut these pieces of steel, and I didn't have a piece that was actually the right size, so I cut 2 pieces of steel, and this piece is 116 thousandths, and this piece is 34 thousandths, and the 2 of them together is 150 thousandths, and they fit perfectly inside that slot. And you'll see what I mean at the machine when we're setting up the camshafts. Alright guys, I spun the flywheel. I looked through the inspection hole on this, and the forums say that in 2012 they had 2 different kinds of flywheels. One where you had to line the mark up with the case split hat, where the split line is on the cases, but you can't do that unless you take the side cover off. And then there's another version where there's a rib, and you take out the crank position sensor and you line the mark up with the rib on the cylinder itself. And I can't see any marks at all. I rotated this engine around like 6 times, and I can't see any marks through that inspection window. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the PTO cylinder piston at top dead center, which it is right now, and I did that with a screwdriver inside here. And we're just going to time it that way and see what happens. Line the cams up to get the cam chain on. Like I said, you're going to need these shims, and these shims go on here like this. Now if you had that big piece, like I said, let me try moving you guys so you can see this a little better. If you had that big piece, like I said earlier, that big square one, you know, the tubes would be in the way, all this stuff would be in the way, and it wouldn't fit. So I made this up, and it fits perfectly. And we're just going to put the wrench on here, and we're going to rotate these until we get that thing to seat in there. And I'm going to get this one in first, because this one should be easier. That one's in. And this one's going to have tension on it. This one's actually going to compress the valve a little bit to get it in. There we go. Now the cams are in the right position for us to put the cam chain back on. Alright, this is the intake gear, and you see marks here. You got an I and an I. That's where the intake has to be. And then on the opposite side, you got an E and an E, and that's where your exhaust has to be. It's literally the same gear, same part number and everything for both cams. They just have different marks on them, and that's how you orientate them when they're in the machine. Other than that, and you do have the witness mark on the back here that we can look at as well. But other than that, they're exactly the same, and they're pretty easy to put in. Just going to snug this up for now until I get the other one on. Okay, now the exhaust one. Alright, you guys can see here, intake, intake, exhaust, exhaust. I'm going to install the tensioner now, which is right here. I'm going to install this and come back when I'm done. Alright, I'm going to remove the alignment tool now. I guess what I'll do is I'm going to crank this thing over by hand a bunch of times. See what it does. Chain is tight now. Let's bring this back up to top dead center. See what it looks like. All right. Piston's all the way up. Let's see where we're at here. Cams are a little bit off. And my mark is a little bit off, so I don't think I'm 100% there. Let me turn it just a little bit more. It's on its way back down. That should be top dead center right there. Look. Yeah, it looks like we're off a little bit here. Can't tell if there's a mark there or not. Alright guys, it's 2 hours later. This was a real pain to try to get this thing in timing. I finally figured out where the timing mark was on the flywheel. It's a little white dot. That must be an aftermarket flywheel. Somebody must have changed the stator in the flywheel at one time, because you could tell down here, this looks like RTV or a brand new gasket. So I think they probably used an aftermarket. That's why I had a hard time finding the timing mark, because it's not the way the timing mark's supposed to look from Polaris, but I did find it. I finally got the cams timed. Those were a pain. Everything is timed. Everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything's tightened down. Everything's torqued. 7 foot-pounds on these, all around the top, the cam covers and stuff. Crank positioning sensors back in. So everything's good. I think what I might want to do now is I want to crank this over. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to crank it over, build some oil pressure, see what happens. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on these lobes because they're brand. This cam I just put in there. I did lube the journals. I took this out, so just want to make sure there's plenty of lube and all this stuff. A little bit on the chain. Alright, I'm going to crank this over and see what happens. Fingers crossed it doesn't blow up. Let's try a compression check, see what happens. It's the same as it was, about 145. Let me put the jump pack on this and see if I can get any more out of it. Alright, let's see if this cylinder's any better. This one here is at 150 now, so it went up 3 psi. Alright, I'm going to throw the cover on there, button some stuff up, and let's try to start it. I'm going to prime the fuel for a bit. sure it's not leaking. All right, guys, here we go for a start. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. Woo. Sounds good. Real good. A little bit back, see what it does. Sounds good. Yeah, right there. 1200. Still might be on. Not getting any blow by out of that anymore. Let's see if she starts back up. I gotta hold the brake. Smoke coming out of her. But that's condensation. That's probably all the stuff, all the gas that is burning from the valve and everything is closing, and that's going to fill up with fuel. Good burn off. Not seeing any leaks. That's good. Up. Pretty happy with that. Real happy with that. I've been letting it run now for probably, I don't know, 5 minutes. Check engine light went out. So we obviously fixed the problem. And it's not smoking anymore. 200. Right now we're down to 194 and 192 now. I looked it up online and it said that 204 degrees is when the fan comes on, and it shuts off at 196. And it's at 185 right now and the fan's off. So the fan works, everything looks good, it sounds good. I'm going to shut it off now. I accomplished what I wanted to. So I wanted it to get up to temperature, see what happened. As you guys can see, we still got a lot of buttoning up to do. But that's going to be it for this video. And I am excited, ecstatic, elated, everything. That it was just a cam, and I got lucky that the piston didn't smash any valves or anything like that. So it's running good. We're gonna button it up. There's probably gonna be 2 or 3 more videos on this because I got a lot to do. I just noticed that I think this front wheel bearing here might be bad. So we're gonna go all through it from top to bottom. We're gonna check everything, the brakes, the wheel bearings. We're gonna check everything and replace everything that's bad on it. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. These twin cylinder Polarises are really a real pain to try to get timed, but once you get it, you know, it's like anything else. Once you get it right, it's right. But it was a pain, and I didn't record a lot of it because it literally took me 2 hours to get the thing timed right. And it was just lining those marks up. Anyway, one last thing. That was the problem right there. She snapped right in half. Right there. She snapped right in half. So I'm gonna let it cool down, and I'm gonna get an oil filter for it. We're gonna do an oil change. I'll warm it up to temp again, and then we'll drain the fluid, the oil out of it and all that. That's in a future video. All right, that's it. I'm babbling. Time to go. I'm tired. I've been out here all day, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Leave something in the bottom down here in the comments. Let me know what you think. Once again, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video, and plenty more content coming on this thing.